You are listening to the Rising Pineapples Inspirational Talks, a video podcast series of interviews to empower women to reach their full potential. You share your questions with us and we'll bring amazing women who will answer by sharing their stories with you. I'm Danielle, and today the question that our community asked is how to find your why. To answer this burning question, I will be speaking with Shani Leiderman. She'll be sharing her journey from actress to project manager to restaurant owner. Listen in to hear more about what inspired her to make the jump and pursue her passion. She will share how she started reading and studying in her free time to move towards her goal of opening a restaurant, and how her female mentor, Cynthia, encouraged and inspired her along the way. I really hope you'll enjoy the talk. So today we have Shani Leiderman with us. And Shani owns the restaurant Beba in Berlin and previously worked at Farm. And I think it's a really nice kind of combination of your stories that come together in Beba. I wanted you to first tell me a little bit about your life before you moved to Berlin.
So basically I grew up in Israel for parents that were born in Argentina, and their family before coming from Morocco, Turkey, Russia, France. So it's a legacy of immigrants. I moved to Amsterdam when I was 21 to learn to study dance in college. And I studied dance and theater in Amsterdam, and I worked in the field. And all through my time at school and working as an actress, I had small jobs in food on the side. So I worked in a restaurant, kind of a fine dining restaurant, where I lied my way through, saying I have more experience than I do. And I had a small catering business. And then basically I moved 2012, I decided to move to Berlin.
Mm-hmm. And were you immediately working in Farm? How did that come about?
No, I started working in another startup that was doing location-based content. So coming from the art world, this was sort of a nice transition because I was busy with content creation, basically. So that was a kind of my opening to the startup world, where I went out of the little bubble of the art world and dived into the startup world.
So I know that you worked at Farm for 4 years, and for people who don't know, Farm is a vertical farming company based in Berlin, founded by 3 Israelis that I also know quite well. And you were kind of working in the intersection of food and agriculture and the startup world. So could you tell me a little bit about what you were doing in Farm over those 4 years, what you enjoyed most about working there?
Yeah, so they brought me in basically after they did a very successful crowdfunding campaign in which they were selling little kits to grow microgreens at home. And they brought me in at the stage where we had to produce these kits because before there was a prototype and a nice concept, but we had to actually produce it in large scale, and then also send it to all the people, and then sell it further. So basically it was a kind of a nice challenging project where this got me into it. I was busy with it for I think almost a year, maybe a bit less than a year. And then it was very interesting because I had to learn a lot about growing microgreens. I had to learn a lot about production. I had to learn a lot about distribution. So it was really a process in which in one go I had to make a lot of learnings myself. And then during this time they were busy with developing the sort of larger growing in the city technological solution. And then they got a nice contract to make a pilot with Metro Cash and Carry, to put a farm inside the supermarket. So basically that was sort of the transition. At some point they told me, okay, nice project, we can keep it on the side, but now we want you to focus on this, which is becoming the center of our business. So then I became the project manager of the first farm. This first farm inside a supermarket, the collaboration with Metro. So that was really, again, another challenge, having to learn retail and what does it mean to work inside a supermarket. What do they need from them? What do we need from them? What do they need from us? How to optimize this relationship, and also how to actually make this thing work that nobody did before. I mean, growing inside a supermarket, it was not really somewhere to learn from so much. So that was sort of the big project. And then I moved, and that included also marketing of that project and producing a film and so on about telling the story. The film was very successful, got a lot of views and press attention also in the US. And so it was a very exciting times in which I suddenly had to, I had to learn very, very fast and sort of function in fields that I didn't know anything before. So, and then was the, maybe the biggest challenge came, which was to make a certification, which is called Global Gap, for this farm, which means that we can legally sell it in any supermarket. So this is a kind of a certification that any supermarket asks in order to sell your fruit and vegetables in. And that was, again, super exciting because we were the first vertical farm in the world to do that. So I had a flagship project with the Global Gap people where we actually developed a new standard for, because their standard is built for, let's say, normal agriculture.
Yeah.
So that was like together with the entire team, of course, but I was managing the project of writing an 80 pages book, operational book about how we do everything and make sure that everything is compliant. And that was in terms of hygiene, sustainability, work safety. So there I had to dive in even deeper to these fields. And then after finishing this project, it was kind of naturally, the company was growing and we brought more and more professionals in. And so it was kind of clear that I could approach the next challenge in a way, or like and then I started coming closer and closer to my passion. So basically to working with food. I was running throughout all this time, I was also running their event business. So we used to host many groups that would come to learn about vertical farming, urban farming, and then we would offer them also lunch or dinner with the produce we are growing. So that was kind of composing an entire experience and then running it and optimizing it. So I was also doing that, and then slowly I was moving into doing more and more of that, and more of working with chefs, doing all kind of collaborations with food brands, with chefs, to develop recipes for our product, to understand how we're gonna market it in the supermarket better.
You were doing all through InFarm, basically.
Yeah. So that was basically within InFarm. I just moved into the culinary with the sort of more projects of this type and less projects of the operational side. Until basically it came to a point of coming so close to my passion, to dealing with food, with hosting, to coming up with concepts for evenings and so on, that I started dreaming about how would I take it further, and what would I do if I would have not the objective of selling herbs, let's say. So if I would have like a totally free slate.
So what was when you started realizing that this is what you were really passionate about? And I guess to some extent you always kind of knew that because you always had a passion for food, right?
Yeah.
How did you basically feed your interest, and what were you doing outside of InFarm? Were you just basically constantly thinking about it and reading about it?
Yeah, so I think in the first stage, I think like everyone, I was a little bit scared to do a kind of a action towards. Also, I was working full-time job and I had a child, and so it's a lot of time outside the job you don't have. And also my whole brain was also absorbed with in-farm and with how to make things better and so on. So but I did started I always read about food. I always read about food. I watch films about food. This is sort of my my way to relax, you know. When I was highly pregnant with my first child, I think the only thing I could do was like sit and read cooking books. But yeah, but then I started a bit more actively, I think together with a little bit of frustration of wanting to do your own thing, and this little bit like discomfort that you feel before you go into the next thing. So there was always a little discomfort, and then what helped me a lot was saying, okay, I buy myself a book about this subject that is related to what I want to do, and I just spend, I don't know, 15 minutes a day and like 1 hour in the weekend, you know, like not a lot, but I just spent a little bit of time in feeding that interest and feeding my imagination. And I actually did a lot of so visualization. I actually just lie in bed a lot and just like imagine and dream, okay, what would I want to do and how would it taste like and how would it look like? And then so that sort of grew and grew with the time. So I started getting more books. Until at some point in my birthday, I found this book about restaurateurs and stories of different restaurateurs. And that was really for me kind of a defining moment, because I started reading the stories and I thought, yes, that's exactly what I want to do. It was sort of super clear. And so there were actually 2 books. There was this book and a book about Jewish food that really, through reading them, really shaped my concept actually in my head. And then slowly at some point I started also putting things on paper, on PDFs, on Word documents. And then I made a small presentation of my ideas and collected pictures. And so really one step by step, this sort of vague desire kind of became more concrete.
At what point did you meet Claudia? Because I read about her online. Claudia, you mentioned that she was kind of like a mentor to you. At what point?
You mean Cynthia Balcomi?
Yeah, Cynthia. Sorry. At what point did you meet her, and how did she basically contribute to the creation of Beba?
So I had a concept in mind that I was when I left in-farm, I already had a kind of concept, and then I was okay. I'm now gonna spend my time in building a business plan and in finding a location. So I started looking for locations. I think it was like 3 or 4 months or so of looking for locations. Almost took 2 places, like was very close. And then I went to actually. I had a proposal, kind of a half proposal from a mentor / partner, a male. And then I met another woman called Victoria Eliasson. She's a chef, very talented woman. And she told me, I think you need a woman. And I was like, I think, first of all, I think you're strong. I think you have a strong concept. I think you know what you're doing. And I think if you need a mentor, maybe a woman. And then she couldn't do it because she was just flying to Iceland. And but she was like, I think you should find Cynthia Balcomi. And then I, through her and a friend, I kind of got in contact with a friend of Cynthia that told me, we're going to be at this event of Feminist Food Club. So Feminist Food Club is a group of women that are working in the food field, in the gastronomy field. And then I went to this event. I came into the room, and then immediately I asked, okay, where is Gisela? That's the friend of Cynthia. There, Gisela was sitting next to Cynthia. I didn't even know that Cynthia is going to be there. And then I sat down and we just immediately started talking. And after 10 minutes, she was like, I told her about my concept and then after 10 minutes, she was like, I think I have something for you. So, and then she told me about the opportunity, the Gropiusbau, that the Gropiusbau is looking for somebody to take over their restaurant. So it was actually love at first sight in a way. At the end of this evening, we hugged and I asked her, would you be my mentor? And she said, yes.
Wow.
She immediately said,
still
yes.
very involved?
Sorry?
She's still very involved. Is she still mentoring you?
Yes. So we are not talking on a daily basis, but basically every time I have a kind of a crossroad that I need to, there is something that I feel like I cannot quite figure it out myself, or I need some confirmation, or I need to, I call her, and she's amazing. And really throughout, I mean, in the beginning, she was very much involved. In the beginning, she was really helping me a lot with all the negotiation and the talks with the museum. And I think I would not be able to do that without her, because first she was super brave to give me her confidence, and to somebody she didn't know me, but she presented me to the museum team, a very respectful cultural institution in Berlin, and just said, I think that this woman can do it. So I think this gave them a lot of confidence, but also me a lot of confidence. And she really empowered me throughout this first stage to stand for my rights also, and to trust in my intuition, and trust in my common sense, and in my professionalism. And she really helped me making this step from a dreamer to a professional, you know. Like, it was really, she really in a way took me by the hand. And I think she also gained a lot from it, because she liked my ideas, and we had very interesting conversations. So I think it was really a very fruitful combination. I think mentoring in that sense is priceless, is amazing. It's really.
I wanted to ask what advice you would give someone who is in a similar position as you were, in a company where they kind of feel like they're ready for the next step, and they like, what really helped you gradually build that up, and what was the moment where you decided, okay, I'm ready to found a restaurant now, and I'm going to just make this jump?
For me personally, I'm a person that I mean, I'm brave, but I'm not. I take small steps, you know. So for me personally, what helped a lot was really studying a lot. So really using this time to study the field, and to articulate a plan. I think that once I had some knowledge and I had a plan, then leaving didn't feel so scary anymore. And even if my parents and some people in my environment said like, oh, but Infam is like a company that is growing, and like, oh, how come you're leaving now at this point? It's crazy. But I had, by then I had not only a desire, not only a dream, but I had already a plan. And even if plans change, but having that plan in hand really helped my confidence. And I think if I would meet Cynthia even before, even better. Yeah, if I had a mentor. So I think a plan, some knowledge, a plan, and a mentor, or at least somebody that you look up to, you know, even if you're not in contact yet, that you kind of know, okay, more or less that's where I want to go. I think that really helps.
And you were kind of always in this gastronomy, like it's been a theme in your life, right? Because you were doing catering in Amsterdam, and you worked in a kind of vertical farming company in Berlin. How did you come to the realization that actually what you really wanted to do was to open a restaurant? Because you always kind of like in the topic.
Yeah, I think some people, you know, some people like to deal with a certain topic, but don't necessarily need to say their own thing, or you know. And I just had the feeling always like, I always had these visions of like, no, I want to do it like that. And I always had these these images and these ideas in mind, that what kind of place I want to create, that I'm missing around me. You know, I think that's something that that with the time, I think that's a bit in my character, because I was an artist before. I was also a musician, creator, performer. So in that sense, I am somebody who is used to putting their ideas on stage, let's say. So it was also natural for me to say, no, the next step is also, I want to put my little creations at the front.
Yeah. Maybe you can tell us a little bit actually about Beba and what Beba stands for, and how you actually came up with the menu creation, because I think it kind of ties well with your history as well.
So Beba is named after my grandmother. She was an Argentinian woman with these origins I named before. And I always had a kind of a fascination and passion for traditional food. So my biggest passion was not like fine dining, but more grandma recipes. And also through my reading. And so I discovered more and more about the history of certain dishes. And I became fascinated with the idea of recipes as little capsules of information, little sort of they encapsulate so much knowledge because they were developed through many, many years, through many hands. So they have a certain wisdom in them. So this grandma recipes was something that I always cared about. And then, so it was clear for me that when I open a place, it has to be with that kind of food. And then it was also clear to me that also coming close to ingredients in farm, that I have to have farms in my restaurants because I am not going to compromise on any less than the quality of these products. And then also it became clear for me that I want to do as much as possible myself. So I want to control the entire process. I want to bake our own bread. I want to make our own pickles, make our own sauces. So it was clear to me that I want to make everything from scratch. Yeah. So I think Beba's concept is basically built on these three things. Yeah, on the grandma recipes, on the principle of doing as much as possible, growing and doing yourself, and on quality produce. That basically a big part of it is in farm, which is also standing in the restaurant, so people can also see the process. And that was also for me with the pickles, and so it was important for me that people as much as possible see the process of the making of the food. If I could, I would make a kitchen in the middle of the restaurant. Because it's in a museum, it's just not possible. But that was sort of my dream.
Yeah. And so you kind of were talking before about how when you were in farm, it was very exciting for you and you were learning a lot of new things. But what does it feel like? How does it feel different to you being in this place now where you've kind of always wanted to open a restaurant and now you have a restaurant? Is there something that clicks? Does it feel different for you?
Definitely. I mean, of course, at Farm, I learned a lot, and I think I could never do what I'm doing now without that experience. So I learned what it means to run a business. Before that, I ran a small catering business. But so I think because I was, I think I learned some really important things, which was one thing is from an idea to a reality. At Infarm, I really experienced it because I joined so early on. We were 5 people in Kreuzberg with laptops and some dreams.
Just as a side note, Infarm is now like an 800-person company, just for people to understand how much that company has grown.
Yeah, so this experience of seeing step by step, project by project, how these ideas materialize, I think this is something that gives you immense knowledge, but also it empowers you because it shows you it's possible. And it shows you what are the important things in a way, on the way that you should not compromise on. Yeah. So I think that taught me a lot about that. But of course, very quickly after starting, I started getting a lot of good feedback and press attention after starting Beba. And it was sort of clear to me that, wow, this is really what I'm supposed to do. This is really, it really felt like I'm in the exactly right place. And, through my experience in performance, I also quickly understood that the restaurant is a theater space, and the experience of the customer should be composed as a performance. So for me, it was suddenly that I could my brain was like firing, because I felt like I could bring all my knowledge from that world on how to compose an experience, on how to tell a story, and then bring the knowledge from Infarm on how to make business from scratch, and the knowledge of Cynthia, of what it means to run a food business for 25 years. So it felt really like everything clicked together, and in a way I'm still in this train ride, even though pandemic and everything, and a lot of bumps on the way, but still I have the same feeling. It's really, really hard work, but because it is my baby, and because it feels so much in place and so much like I'm supposed to do, I don't mind so much in a way,
Do you have like any kind of next steps that you want to take with the restaurant, like maybe opening another Beba in Berlin or another restaurant? Do you have any ideas like that?
Yeah. Of course. From the beginning. In a way I have many. I mean, I have really like but it was actually from the beginning. For me, Beba is sort of it encapsulates in it a whole world, like of different types of places that take with them certain principles of content that I want to create, different experiences you can get online. So like for home, like what we're doing now for delivery. So actually, I can see it growing in so many directions. And I think this is also something that that for me is never boring, because as soon as you get into a certain routine and you think, okay, this part is working, and then I immediately have a list of 10 development projects on the side that I could pick and start working on. So yes, definitely.
I think what's really nice is also how kind of all your experience in the past comes together. Like you're talking about acting and performing and working at In-Farm, and it's not as if it was like wasted time. It's actually all contributed to Beba being created.
Definitely. And I think I could have never known how, it's not that I think that's what happens often, that you just don't know at a certain moment, how does it all connect and how does it all come together until that moment that it clicks. Yeah. So I think that, that's very satisfying, this moment in which you understand that, you understand like, how can you, I always felt a little bit like, I had a bit the imposter syndrome, that when I came into the startup world, I felt like, oh no, but you don't know, I'm not really from here, I'm not really, I didn't study business, I'm not really, and I even had the same a little bit when I came into the food business, but I think that experiencing it one time after the other, you start understanding, okay, no, it's fine, it's okay to move. And I felt, even in the startup world, I felt how much knowledge I brought from the performance world into there.
Cynthia's support at the beginning probably helped with that, because she kind of introduced you to the museum and things flowed a little bit, right?
Definitely, but her help was actually best in the way of like, no, girl, you're a professional now. You should not. I remember this one time in the beginning, I had to write a description text about myself, and I wrote something foodie, and he was like, "You're not a foodie. You're a gastronom. You're a restaurateur." And it was before we opened, and I think that this was for me really a defining moment. She was like, you're a professional, you're a restaurateur, you should write it down like that, no foodie. And I think that was really a nice moment, because I was really like, many times I have to remember this moment and say to myself, no, Shani, you're a professional.
And do you feel like you're kind of at that point now where you feel more like a professional? Is that something that you've grown into?
Definitely. I mean, of course, I cannot compare my knowledge to somebody who has 25 years of experience, but I do feel I had a lot of experience through the past almost 2 years, and I all the time learn also. I'm all the time learning, talking to people, and trying to improve, to become more professional. So yeah, I have to say, I feel a professional by now.
Thank you so much, Shani. It was really, really nice speaking with you. And I obviously would recommend for everyone to check out Beba, especially when restaurants open again, because the in-farm farms look amazing in the restaurant as well.
But meanwhile, you can order for home.
Yeah, I ordered on the weekend. It was very good. Thank you so much, Shani.
Thank you, Danielle.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to our video series. We hope this story will inspire you to take action and reveal your unique potential. Make sure to follow Rising Pineapples on our social media to learn more about the next episodes.